Alright. The first thing we want to do is make sure that we fold the profiled cane exactly at center. The whole piece of cane is 120 millimeters, so that exact center mark is at the 60 millimeter mark, which is right there. And then we fold the cane at that mark. The two ends should be flush, and they're almost flush, but not quite. So when they are not quite flush, what you do is put the shorter end in one hand and in with the other hand. Because I'm right-handed, the shorter end is in my left hand. And I push up against the fold with the longer end so that that's flush now. Okay? The butt needs absolutely to be flush. And then I pinch that crease and put it on the shaper. Get it centered, and we secure the shape. And then we very carefully don't get any blood on ourselves. So everything is protected. Notice the stretch here. This is how I do it. Going to rough in the shape, get most of the big stuff out of there, and flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. And then when I've gotten most of the cane off, go back with a razor blade, secure the shaper on the edge of the table, and then take the razor blade and clean up the edge. What's really important here is to make sure that the shape of the cane is exactly flush with the shape of the shaper, and that you don't feel any extra stuff hanging out. But you also want to be careful not to bend this way. The tendency is to want to clean that up so much that you don't stay perpendicular to the shape. Okay, then we flip it over and do the same thing to the other side. Okay, this razor blade has been used before, and so it's not quite sharp, and we didn't sharpen it. We want to make sure that the razor blade's very sharp so that it's really taking off everything.
Well, we didn't want our teeth to itch, so.
And then you just feel that and make sure that you don't feel any extra cane on either side. And that piece of cane is shaped. And you release it and you put it back in the water and shape the next piece. First you take it out of the water, you dry it off, you check to make sure that you know where your center point is, and you mark that center point, which is 60 millimeters.
My apologies if this isn't anybody's way, but this video is going to be freaking awesome.
That's where you want the fold to be. So if you look at how this piece of cane is, if you don't measure that, there's a whole variation there about where you might want the center to be. So that's the beauty of marking it and then sticking your knife right underneath it. You're going to get much closer to flat at the bottom. So we still need to do right-handed, therefore the left hand has the shorter end, right hand has the longer end, and you just push that up against itself. The butt needs to be flush. You can't solve it by coming in and cutting off whichever end is too long. All of the measurements have to do with the total length of the reed of the piece of cane being 120 millimeters. So once you get that worked out, then you pinch the fold to make sure it stays there. Put the shaper in, secure it, Kira, do me a favor and unwrap that razor blade. And this is just getting the bulk of the cane off of there, and we'll clean it up with a razor blade after in the next step. And then secure against the table and take the razor blade and clean up what's left. Flip it over, same thing on this side. Close enough for jazz. And then release it back into the water. And we are done with the shaping part of our project.